Hello, guys, and welcome to another Factorio Friday Facts discussion number 365 Future Plans. This is a super exciting, huge one, and I am joined, as always, by Bombug.
Hello, hello. How you doing today, X?
I am doing pretty dang good. I think we're both really excited for this one. It's some big news if you haven't seen it elsewhere or my other video of it I did yesterday. For anyone, it's huge announcement.
Yeah, it's really cool that they hinted in it last week, and then we get it this week. We're not waiting like a year for a new announcement or something.
Yeah,
It's hitting us already.
yeah, exactly. Didn't delay the announcement. um, but yeah, all jokes aside, super awesome. So this is actually kind of interesting. I say this not at all to, well, yeah, not at all really to like pat myself on the back or anything. Just interesting that this kind of just happened to fall in line with like almost exactly with like the predictions I made in a previous video recently. Again, like it wasn't that difficult because there were only so many options, but I just find it interesting because this first paragraph is almost word for word what I said. That they say the 1.1 release is the final release of the vanilla game. It will be maintained, so bug fixes, simple modding, interfaces, additions, or minor tweaks can happen, but that's about it. So, basically, yeah, the vanilla game is complete. Any little bugs or modding stuff or little tweaks they will still work on, but definitely no expectation for any sort of actual content or anything like that in the vanilla game moving forward.
How do you feel about that? Were you expecting more vanilla content?
I was not. I when I
Same.
when in my prediction video when I went over the options, I said that one option was that they would just keep adding content to vanilla with like continuous releases like 1.2, 1.3, etc. And I guess that is being one of the least likely options. Um, and it turns out that's true. They don't really plan to do that, and I'm okay with that. Like the only downside really is that we just have to wait longer for content. But based on what we discover farther into the Friday Facts, it's definitely worth a wait, I think.
Agreed. I'm glad they're going this path. Let's see what they've got to say about it.
Yeah. So the future. What are we gonna do? There are several possibilities. Retiring is not really an option for several reasons. Not going insane being one of them. So that's uh that's a good point. And it's interesting they mentioned this. Honestly, they probably could retire like financially. I'm sure that that the game's made enough money that the whole team could just basically retire at this point, and be fine. But yeah, they don't want to go insane, and it seems like they have still a really strong drive to do stuff, which is awesome. Um, so there are some smaller experiments outside the Factorio realm that we want to do, but apart from that, we still want to extend the game, which is also awesome to hear. I think some people, maybe us included, were a little bit worried after 1.1 that they were just going to be like done with the game period and just be like, okay, we're bored of it or we're tired of it and we just don't want to do anything with Factorio. Um, so I'm super glad to hear that they still want to extend it. Uh,
Absolutely. We're kind of leaning on mods for a lot of the extra content for people who want it, but I think for normal players to begin with, there's already more content than a lot of normal players will ever get to.
mm-hmm.
They may get to their first rocket launch. It may take them 80 hours, and then they may not go to do mega bases. They may retry a couple times to even get to the rocket the first time. And I think that's already a huge amount of content for a game to have in 2021 as it is.
Mm-hmm.
40 plus, 80 plus hours of content for $30. Guys, you got
Right?
to be kidding me. This is a
Yeah.
good deal.
Insane value. So there's a large pool of ideas. So all we have to do is just pick one from the most potent ones, but the question is how to package them. And there's several options. And basically, this is the four things I listed in my predictions, and it makes sense that they would have these to choose from. Is free updates forever, Factorio 2, small DLC packs, or one big expansion pack. And they go more into detail on these and the pros and cons. Uh, a lot of games do it for the free updates forever, notably Minecraft and Terraria. They do really well, so the model works, but I believe that it is not the best way for or way. to go for us, as we are a little bit more of a niche game with a smaller but more dedicated audience. This means that the room for expansion in the sense of getting more players is limited, which I think is a super, super good thing for them to consider because, yeah, I mean, the game is absolutely amazing, but it is pretty niche. It's certainly not for everyone, and it just doesn't have the, I don't think it has the potential to just grow continually, kind of like Minecraft has or whatever. So it's kind of, I think it's smart of them to realize that.
Agreed. I don't know if this quite has the artistic appeal that can grab audiences who don't just want to do building, right?
Right. Right. So option 2 is Factorio 2. The problem with a sequel is that it is expected to be very different in many ways and technically a different game. An example would be StarCraft 1 to StarCraft 2. Sequels that mainly just extend the content but reuse most of the stuff from the previous installment were common in old school games like Baldur's Gate 1 to 2, Fallout 1 to 2, Doom 1 to 2, but I'm afraid that that is not the expectation today. Which I would say is a fair point, at least, in today's standards, if a company is going to do a second game in a chain and franchise like sequel, it's expected to definitely have like a fair bit of a different feel than the first one.
It's almost always like an engine rewrite and everything, right?
Yeah, like new story or at least a very different continuation of where the other one left off and all that. And I just don't think that's for Factorio. I'm actually really glad to hear this because I think like we know how long Factorio's been in development. I really don't want to wait like 8 more years for Factorio 2 to get to like a finished state. So I'm actually really glad to hear they're not really picking this option. Um, so the point is that making a new Factorio is exact opposite of what we want to do. Finally, the base game is in a state that we are happy with, things like graphics, tutorials, engine multiplayer, etc. Specifically, we spent most of the effort in the last year on finalizing the GUI, and the last thing we want to do is to throw it all away for the sake of changing stuff. Also, very good point. Um, Small DLC packs, and I kind of thought this was going to be an option, but I think they bring up a reasonable point. They say, personally, as a player, I'm not a big fan of this. I think this is Kovrek saying this. It gets cluttered. It gets harder to keep track of what I have, what features are in what pack, and what I need to buy in order to play with a friend, not even mentioning the developer pain of having small independent chunks of content that need to be compatible and balanced in every possible combination. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't really think Factorio makes sense with little DLCs. Like when I think successful small DLCs, I think of like a shooter or a tower defense game that just introduces a few new maps or a new character to play or something, right? Like those are little packs of DLCs that work really nicely in my opinion. What do you do with Factorio? You introduce some new buildings or something
Yeah.
like they're saying that would be really confusing. Can you play this with a friend? What's the compatibility? Do I have everything? Can the developers make it where each item from one pack doesn't break something from another?
Yeah.
Big pain.
Yeah, it's definitely and a good example I can think of that is both like I think DLC's done well, but also would show how it can be like a pain as well. Is like City Skylines. Um, they have so many DLCs, and I wouldn't actually consider them that huge. Like there's like the like green self-sustainable one, which doesn't add a ton. Like it's just like some new assets and like you know like self-sufficient buildings and stuff like that. And then they have like the nighttime one, which just adds nighttime and some other small things. And I think those are done well, but it definitely does introduce kind of problems, as the devs here mentioned, that it's like, well, there's 10 different DLCs. Which one actually has this stuff I want? And then like which ones do I have? Which ones do my friend have? Etc. Etc. Um, so yeah, and Factorio I don't think lends itself as well to that type of additional content anyway. Um,
Agreed.
so last option, one big expansion pack. This seems to fit best. We could focus purely on extending what we have and make new content, which we want to do so dearly. It would be one well-defined product that would be significant enough to recapture people's attention, and it would be compatible with our workflow. Technically, it would be just a new version of the game, so all the infrastructure of mods being updated, multiplayer, etc., would just work the same as it worked until now. So, expansion pack it is. So there you go, guys. Huge announcement, if you didn't figure it out already. Um, we are getting a Factorio expansion pack. They have decided on it. This is official. They're saying they're going to do it. And a little farther down here, they say they have started working on it. Very early stages, but they do say they have started some work on it. So, reading down a little more into it, this immediately creates two main questions. What will it contain, and when is it coming? So, the what, they say it's way too early to show any of the plans, and since we want to keep the iterative process of expanding things that prove to be the most fun, the plan is quite loose anyway. They say when. All I can say is that we are starting work on it now, and we don't think that it will take less than a year to develop, meaning it will take more than a year. I'm personally very curious how the theory of getting more efficient once the engine is solid will hold. So, what are your thoughts? What are your speculations, thoughts on this?
Oh boy, oh boy. This is just really big and exciting. I think there's a lot of directions they can take it. I mean, we've already seen how just the mod packs alone have been hugely creative, added a ton of new content, and I think Factorio devs are going to be pulling some inspiration from the best of those, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some of the big mods we've got, let's see, we've got Bob's and Angel's mods, we've got space exploration, Crastorio, Industrial Revolution. Those have already showed sort of massively reworked ways to do the game, like in the early stages where you can do all sorts of, lower tier smelting and stuff. But then they've also showed higher tier elevations to the gameplay where you play the game normally, but then you're in space afterwards and there's a ton of extra stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We can expand, we can expand wide, as in using the planet as it is and adding, say, new biomes, new enemies. We can go up into the sky. Maybe we can go underground. Minecraft got a cave system update. Let's see if we can do it here too.
Right.
Um, what I'm hoping for primarily is new ways of laying out buildings. So rather than just the straight up little square assemblers, I want some new stuff, right? We've got our little play sections with the or what are they called? Oil refineries and the chemical plants, but that's just like a very small difference from the regular assemblers. I like it when the mod packs have interesting shaped or sized buildings, so you have to break yourself out of the mold a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see a sort of transportation expansion of some sort. So we've got right now we've got bots, we've got trains, and we've got pipes and transport belts, right?
Right.
I would like to see something like we've got all these what are they called? We've got all these robots flying around. Do they use wireless signals? What about wired data transferring? Let's start transporting some sort of data over the wire from building to building. We've got beacons that are just buffing things around them. Why not make some sort of building where you can specifically connect it to a building nearby with a wire? That kind of stuff is what I'm looking for. What about you?
I would say I'm pretty much mostly in agreement. I don't disagree with any of it. I think all of that would be fantastic. Definitely on board with the idea of like some sort of additional forms of transport. Trains are huge. We all love trains. Even I do, even though they're my sworn enemy. And I think that part of the expansion, it would be awesome to have one or two more, whether it be like some sort of vehicle, like trucks, like big trucks to transport stuff around, or boats, or honestly, I'm not huge on the idea of planes. I think just like vehicles, like road vehicles and boats would be really interesting. Or more variety of trains, like maybe you have kind of the trains you have now, leave them as they are, obviously, but then maybe add some sort of like super high speed train. Obviously, the trains can be a little faster and stuff now with fuel, but like we have like the super high speed trains, and maybe make those just really expensive and just have like a wagon limit or something, so that they can still go fast but don't carry a ton if you just need super fast transport. Um, Variety of buildings and such, I think, would be great. So like you said, instead of maybe like obviously the base game is still going to have its three assemblers and stuff, but maybe then on top of that have like, if you want to do an even more advanced recipe or like do something even faster, maybe there's just an actual different building rather than just an assembler 4 or a
Yep.
chemical plant 2 or something. Just having an actually different building that works a little bit differently, I think would be really cool. Um, my last one, and I've said this many, 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 many times, and I get the feeling this is what is going to be the main thing, and I'll go into that, is something with the late game. I think the late game is extremely lacking. Um, to me, it just never really made sense. Like, launching a rocket's cool and all, it looks cool, it's expensive, but, like, there doesn't seem to be much of a point. You launch a rocket and you're not even on it. Like, you're just launching a satellite
Yep.
for literally, like, why are you launching a satellite? Like, what is this doing for you? it it seems just kind of pointless, almost still like a placeholder. Definitely better than what it was a couple of years ago, but I think that the game can just use so much more in the late game stage of stuff. Um, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm hoping for, and honestly, I would lean towards that. Uh, kind of, I just want to jump down a little bit. Continuing on this topic, though, something that is kind of maybe a hint here is they have hired a concept artist, and this is Arendelle. And for anyone who's unaware, Arendelle is the developer of the space exploration mod.
Hint, hint, wink, wink.
So I think, and I mean, it's a huge mod. Like almost everyone knows about it who uses mods. It's so well done. It's extremely extensive, really cool. You know, artwork and stuff. And the fact they've hired Arendelle is, I think, a pretty decent indication that they, appreciate Arendelle's talents, whether it just be the artist side of things or, I mean, obviously the mod. I think that the actual like inner workings of like space exploration and stuff is also really really impressive. So the fact that Arendelle's now on the team is a pretty good indication to me that they plan to do something with with Arendelle's talents, which to me would indicate late game or additional buildings like you're hoping for and stuff like that.
You don't think that's a little bit of a stretch? I don't know, man. Just because they hired the guy who took Factorio to space doesn't mean that they're going to take Factorio to space. It's
I
a little bit of a stretch. I don't know.
Okay, I mean, it is assumptions. I don't want to, make too many assumptions. I'm just guessing. These are all guesses. We have no,
I think it's a good guess, man. I think
yeah,
it's a really good guess.
we have
And I
no.
would be super excited to see that.
I know, me too. I think, and people have asked, like, in my video where I said there's a big announcement, people said this, and then they're like, well, what do you think of this? I think it would be cool. I'm glad that, like, if it happens, I'm glad it's going to be in the vanilla way and with the devs leading the charge because, again, I think Space Exploration Mod is absolutely fantastic. Amazing work by Arendelle, but personally, I found it a little too complicated. Like, it just didn't. For a while, it seemed to fit with the Factorio theme, and then it seemed to become more just like almost to me like a Bob's mods or Angel's mods or something. Like once you were in space, it just seemed like to just scale way way too much in its complexity compared to the rest of the game. Um, and honestly, some of that is just limitations of modding and stuff, and just not having the devs input. So I think if the devs do something that involves a late game or going to space or whatever, I think it will be. I'm really excited because I think it will be really well done. I think it will have like the best parts of maybe some of what was in the mod. Not that they're basing it off that or anything, but just, it'll have concepts that I think are really great, but I think the balancing and stuff will be um, really good and much better than a mod could do.
So, thinking about that, we've talked a lot about what you would like to see, and you having played a lot of the existing expansion mods, what would you not like to see?
Oh, God, please do not do anything that's like Bob's mods are pianoed in. Um, I don't think they will because I think the devs I know that V played space exploration and stuff and really enjoyed it. Obviously, that's something I kind of hope for, but like, um, I just get the feeling that the devs aren't super huge on like the insane complexity that's literally there just for the sake of being complex. That doesn't, at least to me, through all the time I play the game, it doesn't seem like they add stuff like that. In fact, it seems almost the opposite. Like they've taken stuff out before because they're like, well, we added this and we realized it was just kind of making things more complex for no reason. Um, so it doesn't seem like they do that, but that's what I'm really hoping we don't get. I really don't want. I really don't want something like that where it's just like, you know, you have to. I don't know. You just those mods. I'm not really a fan of that level of complication. What about you?
Yeah, I think don't make it complex for the sake of filling time. If you're adding something, make sure it is fun or purposeful, where like setting up train signals may not necessarily be fun, but there's a huge purpose behind it, and you feel a lot of satisfaction when you complete it and when you've done a good job. Uh, Having not played a lot of those mods myself, just only seen other people struggle with some of the complexity, I'm like, that doesn't look particularly fun. That looks like a lot of repetition
Mm-hmm.
that isn't super satisfying. Uh, yeah, I would hope that they know how to balance that. I think with their quick iteration scheme that they've got right now, they're able to find out, is it fun earlier on, and they're
Right.
able to toss it if it's not. And so I'm very hopeful. I think that their decision to switch up to a more sort of uh, agile development cycle is going to really benefit them when they're making this expansion for sure. Specifically to make it, how would you say it? To make something fun without tossing out a ton of work along the way.
Yes. Exactly.
Toss
Exactly.
out just the right amount of work.
Yeah. So I think this is great. I look forward to seeing what's coming. Again, this is all speculation. I don't know for Ian, like you said. I know you were joking mostly, but it is entirely possible that them hiring Arendelle literally has nothing to do whatsoever with their actual plan. It may just be. I mean, Arendelle is just a really good um, modern and concept artist, and maybe that's just purely why they hired him. Hired them. So, um, just speculation. And in terms of when, I would hope, again, I want to make it very clear this is just a hope. This is, I've learned better, and the devs have not indicated anything um, in this regard, but I would hope we would get some sort of information and progress report after several months, whether that be 3 months or 5 months or 6 months. Obviously, I don't expect any like actual content to be available to play for probably at least a year. Is kind of what I'm gathering and such. But I would like some sort of progress report, hopefully, at least like halfway through a year. So yeah, kind of just I think just going down a little bit. They're hiring some job openings. They obviously hired Arendelle. They hired two more people out of the many applicants. So welcome to Jersey and Lucas. Say it's as far from enough. So we're looking for more. They want operations dev. And again, their listing is on ArtStation page and also on their website. They want C++ programmer and such. Bonus points for a Linux Mac OS specialist as they're lacking that. So it seems like they really are planning to beef things up because their team is already, I don't remember exactly. I want to say it's like 15, 16 people. And they just hired three more people that Arendelle as well as the 3D artists. And then they're looking for DevOps and C++ programmer or more than one. So it seems like they're really, really trying to expand the team.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool to see if you go to their game about page on their main website. You can already see that they've got little, profile spots up for those new hires, right?
Oh, really?
It's pretty cool. Yeah, Arendelle has like a pretty cool looking, oh, what would you call it? Just really metal looking dinosaur. Like I think it's a like an actual robot dinosaur. And it's kind of cool.
Um,
So they're growing the team, and they are keeping
Oh,
everything up to date. And I think it seems like people are going to be pretty lucky to get these spots. This is Factorio, really loved game, got a solid art theme to it. Uh, everybody who plays it's a developer, so you're gonna have people who really want to do the art for it. And you're gonna have people who really want to program for it. There's gonna be some hot spots, and you're gonna be working with some really cool people if you get it.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So, and again, um, some of the stuff, or some of these positions, or all of them, definitely would probably require being in Prague. So, just a heads up, like, I know for you, you basically do DevOps, but would
That's my
require
job.
that would require a move there.
Oh, I mean, what a sacrifice, man! Living in or near Prague. Oh man, that sounds really hard.
Oh, yeah,
It's so beautiful over there. I would get distracted from work. Oh,
yeah, awful. No, it could be really good, So, and I know a ton of people. You mentioned this to me earlier that a ton of people who play the game are probably in the like programming industry and stuff, or concept artists or something and stuff like that. So probably just a ton of applications getting. I hope they find some great people, and I really look forward to this. Kind of, I think continuing on just some final numbers. 8 years of Factorio. So the initial Factorio commit was done in March, March 31st, 2012. So Factorio was in development for 8 years, 10 months, and this comparison was done twice before in Friday Facts 2, 23, and 81. I hope you don't mind if I compare it with the current state. So you want to just touch on some of these numbers, like final ones, some of these categories or something?
yeah, let me go through them here. I'll just hit the final, and we can see what we've got. It's been in development for 3,233 days, 411 public releases, 57,932 commits to the master branch. That's how many times they've pushed code changes. 856,800 lines of code, 2,340,804 words, 35,216,019 characters, the equivalent of 70 average books.
Oh
There's
my god.
This one actually blows my mind here. 87,703 different sprites with 945 million non-empty pixels,
It's insane.
8,688 resolved bugs, 13,265 lines in the changelog.
Whew.
Oh man. Yeah, definitely the number of sprites is just mind blowing. It's like this truly is, nearly 9 years of development love and effort here.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, from the artists to the developers to the project management and decision making side. Wow.
Yeah. And I love this next section.
You want to hit it? What do we got here?
These numbers blow me away as well. 799,000 YouTube videos.
Hey, hit
This
dabs for
seems
that.
this
You've,
seems really high.
that's a ton, man. I am really surprised as well.
I
I wonder if it's like streamers uploading their
yeah.
streams.
Like damn. I don't This seems really really high cuz like I don't know, I want to say I'm at like a few thousand videos. And obviously there's way more people doing Factorio than me, but like to be able to get to basically 800,000 videos, that just is crazy to me. I don't know how they came to this number. Um, Maybe there's some way in YouTube I'm unaware of where you can literally just see the number of videos for a game.
Mhm.
Um, this could be deceiving if they simply just typed in Factorio and then saw the number of search results, because I'm sure there's a ton in there that aren't actually Factorio videos. Um, I don't know. I'd be really curious how they got this. Um, 2,670,000 Google hits of Factorio, 483,539 forum posts. This is nuts.
That's super active for him right there. Wow.
Yeah, nearly 500,000 forum posts. And of course, Factorio has this 38,870 years of combined playtime on Steam.
Oof.
That
Dang.
like thinking back, like we don't really even do we even know? I mean, obviously we like know, but like there's not that much like recorded history. Like what was even happening 38,000 years ago?
Right?
Like I don't
Was that during another ice age or something? I mean, like there's a lot of stuff going on
I don't even
in those
know.
years.
Like that's insane. Egypt was what 10,000 years ago? Like
Yep.
the height of Egypt. So that that just blows my mind. That
I'm just excited to like, hear people in the comments say, "Oh, yep, 5 of those years are mine."
yeah, exactly. It is crazy. Some of the hours people have amounted in the game is ridiculous. So I see how this is possible for sure. It's just crazy to think about. And then finally, 2.5 million copies sold, and that for such a niche game, that is an extremely impressive number. Like to me, I mean that's a lot of
That
copies
is its
sold.
own.
Um, so huge congratulations to them. I kind of get the feeling I don't think they really ever. I could be wrong. Um, I don't know if they expected to ever sell this many copies when they first started the game. Like, I think Factorio has gotten a lot bigger maybe than they expected it to.
I mean, I think a lot of the smaller game developers, indie game developers, get incredibly hyped when they hit the 1,000 players mark and the 10,000 players mark,
Mm-hmm.
much less 2.5 million like actual copies sold. That's you've influenced so many more people than you can ever imagine. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Even if only a 10% of those like really play the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you want to cover this last section of the numbers?
Yeah, let's see. So some different kinds of comparisons. That's 0.34 lines of code per buyer, uh, 17.8 commits per day, which is once again pushing up code changes. 9.2 YouTube videos per one sprite. That's a pretty interesting metric,
Yeah.
I guess. 4.4 years of playtime per resolved bug report. 8 months of Steam playtime per one commit, 37 days of Steam play for each line of code, and 21 and a half minutes for each pixel. And he says, I can go on like this for a while, but mainly it makes me realize that making changes, improving things, and fixing even small annoyances in the game is worth it. Also, it seems like we generally doubled everything in 2 years, which sounds like a good progression. So let's see where we are when we get to the next 2 years. Wow.
This is awesome. Some of these numbers are just crazy. Um, I really like the kind of random comparisons on this last section. It's really interesting.
Yep.
Um, Super cool to see this. Just awesome progress. I mean, the devs have just done such a good job. It's just, I think it's one of the best games ever. Um, and it's just so great that they plan to do more. I think some final words because I know that I mean we're like I don't know how long this is, like 50 minutes.
Shoot, sorry.
No, not your fault. This is I'm having a great time. So they say they're going to stop Friday Facts for a while again, and there are more reasons. We need to focus on experimenting and iterating design ideas. If we show something that ends up being removed or replaced, it can feel like a broken promise, and we learn that is generally the worst thing we can do. We don't want to start building hype too early and drive attention away from the finished Factorio, which is actually, I think, a really good point. Um, some of the additions require extending the engine, but some of them could be reproduced with mods to a certain extent. We have experience. I automatically feel like they're talking about some of what we did with this, but so we have experience with people trying to use mods to emulate our future changes before they released. So has a few problems. People playing with these emulations can have altered expectations for the expansion and also wouldn't feel that new anymore. Um, Still, there are many interesting topics related to designing and implementing the planned features. So as the release approaches, we'll be more than happy to present a peek into the process and discuss some of the content additions. That is to say, Friday Packs will start up again once the time is right. Um, yeah, I think a good example of this last point is um, when I played with Colonel Will the 015. I forget what we called it. Simulation. Because we basically had a mod made that emulated the science pack changes as well as the infinite mining productivity research and did a whole playthrough on it. And I can see why they don't want that type of thing happening again. There's probably other cases as well. Just because, yeah, it kind of spoils things, and then people can get like an expectation based on the own thing they made, and then be like upset or disappointed when the game doesn't turn out the same as the thing they modded. Um, so really good point here. Uh, yeah, so lack of Friday facts, bit unfortunate, but I can definitely understand why.
It just makes the ones that we do get that much sweeter.
Yes, exactly. Mm. And one thing I just want to mention, uh, like I said before, I really hope for some Friday facts after a few months, or a Friday facts over a few months, just for progress. Like, I understand, like, I don't have any expectations for them to show content or even have content done necessarily, to even show if they wanted to. But just a general, like, very general thing, like maybe in like, I don't know how long it was since the last Friday facts before last week's. It was like at least like 2 months, right? It was like November. Um,
Yeah, it was a
so
couple months there, three,
I would
four
hope
months.
in the next like 3 months, 3 or 4 months, I would really like just a very general progress report. Like, hey guys, everything's going okay. We made some progress, come up with some cool concepts, even if it's like if it's that general. Just kind of get the idea that they're still alive and doing work, and it'd be really nice to hear from them in some form or another. So that's kind of all I'm hoping for. Like I said, definitely wouldn't expect, and I want to tell everyone watching, don't expect any sort of content to be playable, I would say, in less than a year. And that's kind of what they hinted at. They said they expect it to, they don't expect it to take less than a year. But I think there is some awesome stuff in store for us here in the future.
Yeah, and the Factorio team is all about getting everybody involved, finding bugs, the quick iteration. This is a team where when they've got something that they feel is ready for us, they're going to get it to us, and we're going to be happy that it came at that time and not sooner and not later.
Yes, yes, definitely. Um, so yeah, any last thoughts here? I think before we close it out.
I'm just really excited for Factorio 2077. We'll be seeing it here in 10 years time. It's going to be
Yes.
great.
Sounds amazing. I'm super excited. Hopefully not as buggy as the other 2077 game. Anyway, it won't be. Factorio devs don't introduce stuff with bugs. Anyway, that's gonna do it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts below in regards to all this, and I hope you enjoyed or excited as we are. And until next time, whenever that may be, we will see you later.
Get you later.